Tottenham TV back here for another Tottenham update as the countdown to the North London derby is getting closer and closer, and we have got some early team news for you guys today.
Any funny feelings yet? Is that started?
I've had that funny feeling all week, sir. I've had it all week.
Fantastic. All right. We're in business on Sunday.
Well, I don't know if we are, because funny feelings usually end up in losses.
Dampen those, suppress them, Ben. Suppress them.
But early team news is that Richarlison has been pictured back in first team training, which is a major boost going in to the game this weekend. Just gives us another option that we didn't have before, and with 11, 12 fit players before, so we just need all the help that we can get at this moment in time.
Yeah, that's exactly my feeling. As much as he's not exactly been, well, to be fair, he's our top goal scorer. Yeah, he is our top goal scorer. So I think in the last, knockings of the game, I'm assuming he's not going to start, but if we're chasing a goal or need a goal, someone who can just put the cat amongst the pigeons, as they say, and ruffle a few feathers, and hopefully he can make an impact. And I think these are the kind of games he kind of lives for. He likes the argy-bargy, doesn't he?
Might not want in from the halfway line, who knows?
Exactly, he did that last time. So I think he'll probably be on the bench if he is fully fit. And the reality is, we are so short on numbers at the moment. The fact that he's in full team training, I assume he's going to go straight into the squad. I don't think there's going to be any thoughts of letting him rest for any more time, because we just need him. That's the reality. So in terms of how he would work under Igor, obviously we have thoughts of Solanke up front, but Moani, we think he's going to come back into the fray, maybe up front or maybe in the number 10 position. And I'm assuming Richarlison will battle out for the number 9 as well. But Moani played number 9 for Tudor back when he was at Juve. So where does Richarlison fit in? Is it in one of those number 10 positions? Is that where he's going to get his game time? Or is Moani going to drop back in and he'll be an alternative to Solanke? It'll be interesting.
Well, I think the matter is that everyone's going to get their minutes, whether it be from the bench or whether it be from a starting role. Everyone's going to get the chance to impact. And also, look, we know that Moani worked under Igor Tudor at Juventus, but who's to say that he doesn't rate a Solanke or Richarlison higher than him anyway? But after seeing him in training, just because they've worked with each other in the past doesn't mean he's going to favour them over the player we have here.
No, it's absolutely right. We're just theorising what could Richarlison's role be, because he has obviously played on the left-hand side at times for Everton, and even for us in the Europa League final, we played on the left-hand side. Yeah. So I wonder, could he look at him in one of those tight number 10 roles? But again, do we really see Richarlison thriving in a role like that?
I think we need creators in those roles, and he's not a creator, is he?
Yeah, so likely to be an alternative for Solanke, but hopefully he can come back just in time to put a dagger into those Arsenal hearts. That's what we need.
Let's bloody hope so, people. Let's bloody hope so.
There's also rumours of Porro being in training. He hasn't been pictured, but I've heard a few people spread it around that he's back in first team training. I guess we'll wait and see. Over the next few days, they'll release some more training footage, and on Friday we'll get the press conference. So we'll wait to hear, but that'll be a major boost for me if Porro's available. Yeah,
I mean, the initial rumours were Richarlison and Porro back in first team training from Monday when they came back from their 5-day break. But only Richarlison's been pictured, but obviously there hasn't been many pictures circulating or many videos circulating. So Richarlison was part of the rumour and then it got confirmed. Let's hope Porro can get confirmed as well. And if they have been in training since Monday, that gives me hope that they can play some part in the North London derby. I mean, Pedro Porro is going to be so much more important than Richarlison, because we've got 2 number 9s. We're just massively understocked at fullback. So if Porro can start this game and play like 70, 80 minutes or however long it may be, it's going to be a major boost for us. Major. Talking of that 5-day break, though, Javi Simons spent extra time at the club's training ground last week, despite Spurs squad being given 5 days off after the Newcastle match, which is great mentality from Javi Simons. We've heard, he's a very hard worker and got a really good mentality about him. And I think this just goes to prove it, to be honest. When you're given a 5-day break and he stays behind and works his socks off a Hotspur way, that can only be commended.
Yeah, I think he does have a fantastic mentality. We've seen the way he's kind of knuckled down the season and improved as the season's gone on. I don't think he's gone to make excuses, even when he's been criticised by opposition fans, but also a large section of our fan base being very critical. What have we signed? He's a dud. He's not physical enough in the Premier League. He has been underwhelming for large parts, but definitely in recent weeks and recent months, you could say there's been big strides, big improvements in his game, and I think he's been working very, very hard in making sure physically he's more competent for the Premier League. I think that's something which maybe earlier in his Tottenham tenure he was struggling to adjust to the physicality and the pace of the Premier League, but I think definitely in recent weeks there's been good signs of him really adjusting, and the performance has been much better. I remember hearing, it was on another podcast from a former Tottenham coach saying he's heard that Javi is one of the best trainers in the squad, and he's got one of the best mentalities. And he was asked, who's going to be the next star for Tottenham, and he was like, definitely Javi with his mentality. He wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing him getting a lot stronger, start shoving people off the ball rather than getting shoved off the ball. And I think we are starting to see that with Javi, and I'd like to think some other players had that mentality that he did, knowing the situation we're in, relegation battle, and although they have been given 5 days off to kind of clear their minds and just kind of get over the Frank tenure, I guess, and have a clean, fresh approach going to the game in the North London Derby, which is a big week ahead of a big few months for us, given the situation we're in. I'm glad he's done it, but I wish I heard some other players do it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But look, in terms of Javi, in terms of acclimatising to the Premier League, I feel a lot of the early performances where he got slated was more the fault of the structure of the team and how the team was set up, and getting players in and around him they just weren't there. And I thought he was doing a lot of good things and a lot of the right things, but he was on a hiding to nothing. He would make a swivel away and get himself in a really good position, but he's got no player within 30 yards of him or 20 yards of him, how much it may be. So yeah, I think Javi has been growing slowly, and I think the team structure around him over the past couple of weeks have played to in his favour a little bit more. So I think that's the reason you've really seen him grow a bit more in this team, and maybe outside taking a bit more notice of Javi and the good work that he's doing. But yeah, look, I agree. Look, there was a narrative, wasn't there, when we signed Javi about his attitude coming into it. A few people saying, this guy's got an attitude problem. He's not one that you want to touch, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I haven't seen that at all. In fact, I've seen the opposite. I've seen someone that wants to work really hard for the team, someone that is very much liked within the camp and with a really good mentality.
Yeah, I think the narrative was more not that he doesn't work hard, but more he gets frustrated with his teammates. He throws his arm around and he can be a bit of a prima donna in that sense. But when it comes to being a top professional, I think this is a guy who's been in the limelight since he was, 12 years old or something. So this is nothing new to him, and I don't think you have the career path that he does if you don't have a top mentality. He's been at the likes of Barca and PSG, and for whatever reason, it didn't quite work out there, but he hasn't let it get him down. How many talented players have been in the position he has and just fallen away and just not kind of fulfilled his potential? And he's even made drops to the Eredivisie. He went to the Bundesliga because he believed that was the best places for his development. He's chosen his clubs very carefully, I feel, ever since whatever happened in those top clubs happened. And I think he's a very smart guy. He's got a really good head on his shoulders. And I agree. I don't think we've seen bad body language per se. I think there are some cases he's been frustrated and whatnot, but that's only natural. I think most players have those moments. There's been some moments where the camera's maybe zoomed in on his face. He looks like he's about to cry and he looks like a bit of a spoiled child, especially with that penalty situation I remember people can point to. But I don't think that's indicative of an overall character flaw or an overall kind of lack of ability to work hard and improve on his game. And I think that's definitely what we've been seeing with him. The only worry I have about him is I think we know we have a quality player there. It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on in the World Cup as well. And I'm pretty certain he'll be in the squad. And if Tottenham aren't in Europe and he has a very, very good end to the season, our big club's going to come in for him smelling blood. Obviously, if we get relegated, that'll definitely happen. But if, let's say, we stay up and we're not going to have Europe next season, is that an opportunity? I'd like to think he's only been here a year and he will give us a bit more time to kind of fulfill the potential he has here. But that is a situation. I know no one's really talking about it because maybe he hasn't had the best of seasons. So people thinking, well, maybe top clubs won't be in for him. But if he does continue the trajectory he's going, we know there's a quality player there that I think a lot of top clubs would like.
Yeah, look, all you got to do is look at his time at Leipzig. I mean, the reason or the kind of situation why he wanted to look to move on was obviously to further his career. But at that point, it's no coincidence that Leipzig weren't in European football for this season. So that was, I think, was the catalyst of him looking to move on and looking to get a fresh approach. So Spurs not being in Europe next season, might call something like that. However, he's only been here 1 year, so he might want to give it a bit more time before he does kind of look to the exit door. But let's hope that's not the case, because I really believe in Javi, and I think he's going to be a top player for us if we can keep him around. In terms of the managerial search, Team Talk, obviously not the most reputable source, but they say that Spurs have added Newcastle boss Eddie Howe to the list of potential summer managerial targets. The report claims that senior figures at Tottenham are increasingly intrigued by Howe's body of work. The outlet claims to have heard from sources that Newcastle boss's name has been raised and discussed at boardroom level at Tottenham as they map out their summer strategy. It's revealed that while Spurs are still in the early stages of their managerial search, Howe is viewed as a coach who fits their long-term strategy given his progressive football and record of player development.
And I think he definitely should be on the list. If there is doubts about him at Newcastle, and he's potentially available, I definitely think we should be looking at him. Now, would I rather him or Poch? I just think the emotional connection with Poch sides me with him on that front, and I think in terms of how I view them as managers, I do think they're probably on a similar level. I think Eddie Howe is of the elites of some of the other guys I really, really want, like an Alonso or an Nagelsmann. I think they're probably a little bit above him, like tactically and stuff. But when it comes to motivational, when it comes to how he developed players, his use of kind of younger players, what the job he's done in Newcastle, and how he can build, a team and over a few years, I think he's done a great job. And now there are some doubts whenever they seem to be in Europe, for one reason or other, they seem to struggle, whether that be how the squad's been managed or the recruitment or whatever. That definitely seems to be a theme ever since he's gone to Newcastle. So that's something to take note of. And this season, obviously, that it's been a struggle for them. But I think he is a very good manager. And I think he is proof of looking at a manager, what they've done at a smaller club. And even though he got relegated with Bournemouth, he couldn't keep them up. But at the end, he did keep them up for a few years. Looking at the football he played there, that is an example of a manager that you would want at your club to replicate that kind of football, attacking. They were a brave team, Bournemouth. They took the game to the opposition. Yeah, they probably got battered some games, but they also battered the smaller teams a lot of the time, and they played some really great attacking football. So I think when you're looking at his job at Bournemouth compared to like what Frank did at Brentford, there are nuances there that if you're paying attention, you would have been able to tell the difference. And obviously that kind of stuff I think was overlooked for me when we appointed Frank. But anyway, that's not about Frank. It's about how I think if Poch, if he goes to Madrid or something, and Eddie Howe, if there's doubts about him, I would make an approach. I think, as I say, I don't think we're going to get a top one like Nagelsmann or Tuchel or Alonso. So if we're not going to get that kind of caliber, and Eddie Howe, if he leaves at the end of the season, maybe he feels like his job is done at Newcastle, you can't take him any further. I think if Poch goes to Madrid, I think maybe Howe would be on my list for sure.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I always thought that Howe was going to be nailed on for the England job after Thomas Tuchel. Obviously, Tuchel has signed a new contract now post the World Cup. I think that runs until 2028, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So I like Howe. I've always said I like Howe, and I like his personality. I like his style of play. Even in the big games, he always makes Newcastle a really hard team to play against, and he gets some good results and good performances against the likes of Arsenal, Man City, and Liverpool, and everything like that. Won the Carabao Cup last year with Newcastle, which is their first trophy in a long time. I think he's done a fantastic job at Newcastle. I really do. So for me, I think Newcastle would be crazy to let him go, because I'm not sure if they can get a manager that's better than him. But if they are willing to let him go and looking to kind of move on from Eddie Howe, and seeing as this season hasn't really gone according to plan, looking to cut ways, I'd definitely be considering Eddie Howe. I really like him.
Also, you got to consider at Newcastle, he's had all those PSR restrictions, and he wouldn't have that here.
Yeah.
So maybe with the finances unrestricted, maybe that he could do a lot more in the transfer market.
I've got to say, the recruitment at Newcastle within those PSR things have been very good, though, hasn't it? Look at the players that he's brought in. Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, they've brought in some really good players there, haven't they?
They've also, had to lose the likes of Isaac, Elliott Anderson, those kind of players, which if they could have kept them around, adding to the likes they've got already, what a team they would be.
Yeah. And, they've like had setbacks every season. Like last year, they had the whole Sandro Tonali scandal, and this year they've sold Isak. I mean, every year they seem to have like something to push them back a little bit. But yeah, look, this season hasn't gone according to plan. I think majorly because of Alexander Isak, and obviously Wissa couldn't play for a large part of the early part of the season, and they had to rely on Voltmader a lot, who did very well. But I think by and large, his time at Newcastle is seen as a success.
And you look, I think the type of recruitment that he's been doing in Newcastle, we could definitely do with the Tottenham.
Oh, 100%.
For example, like Isak, he was seen as a gamble at the time. They spent 70 million on him, and I understand he had like a good season like a couple of years before. I think he scored 17 goals, but the season they signed him off the back of it, he actually had quite a poor season.
Yeah.
But they looked at him and thought, no, this is a quality player. And if under the right circumstances, this guy could be top notch, and end up being spot on. And he never looked back, Isak. So that was obviously a fantastic bit of recruitment, and that's the kind of signings we kind of need, because it's going to be tough for us to be competing with the top teams for the talent they're going for. So someone like an Isak, who maybe goes under the radar. Yes, you could argue at the time it was an overpayment, but it absolutely paid off in droves, and that's the kind of signings we need to be going for.
Yeah, absolutely. So let us know your thoughts about Eddie Howe. Would you take him as Spurs manager? For me, Pochettino's number one, but if we can't get Poch through the door and Eddie Howe is a willing participant and wants to come, then I'll definitely be looking at him in a very serious way. Now, to round off the update, we have got a little teaser for you. North London derby coming up this weekend, as we mentioned earlier, and THFC Flags have teased what the Tifo, there is going to be a Tifo this weekend at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in that south stand, and look what they're saying. Unbelievable. This is top shithousery, I think it looks like it's going to be. So this is the picture, and the text that goes with it, it's just a teaser, and it says forever, and in brackets adverb, 1, for all future time, for always. 2, continually, since 1882, see you Sunday, come on you Spurs. So is there going to be a Tifo that just says forever North London?
I hope so, and that would be absolutely fantastic. I think it will put Arsenal fans in their place, because we know we're the ones who have been in North London forever.
And say North London Originals.
Exactly, North London Originals. Them lot are from South London, and they've adopted the North London forever, which is ridiculous that they sing that, considering they haven't been in North London forever.
Can you imagine? That is literally their club anthem. Even their club anthem is a lie.
Exactly. No class, these guys. Everything they do is lack of class and full of lies. And you scratch the surface, and it's built on a house of cards.
Yeah.
And that anthem is exactly that. So for me, I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to get the crowd absolutely up for it. I have got a feeling on Sunday the crowd are absolutely going to be bouncing with the new manager, and just, albeit I understand that it could be a tough day for us if things go badly, but there's also a feeling of we're not expecting anything on Sunday. We're not expecting a result. As much as we need it, we're not really expecting it.
It's like back in the 90s and the early 2000s,
and sometimes when you go into those games, that mentality where you're not scared of losing because you kind of expect it, sometimes that can get the best out of you, and we've seen that with Tottenham. Absolutely
right. And it's kind of like a bit of breath of fresh air, this, because usually the Spurs Tifos are very like sanitized, kind of to dare is to do, or just the club motto or whatever, one for Harry Kane and stuff. But this one seems like it's going to have a bit of bite to it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's going to be very cutting, let's hope. And hopefully it riles up the Arsenal fans and the Arsenal team, more importantly. And look, the fans are going to have to be up for it if we're going to do anything. They have to be the 12th man on Sunday, and I think they will be.
Yeah, I think so. It's time to really back the boys, back the manager. We're in a very precarious situation right now, and the club and the players need all the support it can get. So we'll be there at the game, and we're planning. Well, I'm planning to come back with absolutely no voice. So very much looking forward to the North London derby this weekend. But yeah, put in the comment section below what you think the Tifo is going to say, because I'm so intrigued. I'm so excited to find out exactly what it says. But yeah, that is your Tottenham update for today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.